All right, this is audio for biographies, and I will be doing Paul Johnston from part 2. I'm starting at 1 minute and 49 seconds, or right about there. So it was perfect. I decided that I would go ahead and accept the opportunity to go into Penn State University, and I said goodbye to the theater world and to acting. And, I did enjoy teaching and doing that there, but I really preferred going into the university and studying fine art. So I went ahead and I felt more comfortable because I'd been there a year before. So this was good. So I met with my professors and said hello to them, and I was ready to roll up my sleeves and get to work. I was motivated. And, that's one thing that going into Penn State that was very important for me. I needed to have courage, because without courage, I knew I could not do this program. Whether I'm deaf, blind, an amputee with my arm or my head cut off, it didn't matter. I needed to have motivation. That was good. So I went in. Oh, let me just tell you something about Penn State University. They did not have deaf support staff to help me with things. They didn't have any of that. I had to go find my own interpreter through newspapers and other things. And so I found 3 or 4 interpreters. Oh, I found others who had had experience with this, and so they recommended interpreters to me, and so I tried to meet up with them and see if their schedules would match mine and try to juggle all of that. So I found 3 or 4 interpreters, but they knew nothing about fine arts, the vocabularies and everything, so there was new words and signs that I needed to teach them. So I found some to go ahead and match up with me for most of the time I was sitting down with my professors independently, and we would sit down and write back and forth to each other, but I needed the interpreters for my classes. So finally it was the day when I was going to start teaching. I went into the room, and then I was waiting for the time for the class to come in, but I was the only one there at the moment. So I was waiting there, so I went ahead and wrote my name, Paul Johnston, in big letters on the board and the course. And pretty soon, students started filing in. They filled up the lecture hall, and I was really starting to feel nervous. I'd never been that scared before. I didn't know what I should do, but I was waiting and waiting for the interpreter to show up, and they didn't come. And so finally, I got up, and I started drawing a face. It looked kind of sick. It was crooked with the tongue hanging out. The students thought that was funny. They thought I was kind of bold to do that. And finally they realized I was Paul Johnson. I was the teacher. And I started gesturing and writing things on the board. And they thought it was pretty crazy. They thought this was like an imaginary situation to meet a deaf teacher. So I started passing out papers to them. And I talked about, I was hoping that, I had about 40 students, but I was hoping when it was all, by the next class, that there would be a few students that would drop out. And I told them that would be fine if they wanted to. But no, the next time they showed up 2 days later, there was still the same amount of students there, and there was a line out in the hall of students who wanted to come and join my class. They were asking, please, can we join? Well, there were 45 seats in the lecture hall, so I accepted as many as I had seats for. So finally the interpreter showed up that day, and I told my students that there were 3 ways that they could communicate with me. They could communicate through the interpreter. That was number 1. Number 2 was they could learn sign language and finger spelling. And I had a card I could give to them. And the 3rd way would be to write back and forth. They could pick which way they wanted to. So, interpreter, signing, or writing back and forth. Some of them took the challenge to learn sign language, and I was really patient with them. And you know, this was really, I was really satisfied with this experience. You know, I was deaf and I was in this fine arts program. Oh, I've already passed my, yes, okay.